Hello, Twisted Humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting? Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia. And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. Hello, and welcome to episode 157 of this Twisted podcast that you put in your ears every week. I don't know why I made that sound so weird. If you're not new here, you know we're awkward as fuck anyway, and stuff like that's going to come out. And if you are new here, welcome. We are an all twisted topics podcast. That said, speaking of twisted things, I have a disappeared case for you that I am quite excited to tell you. I had never heard of it until I came across it for my research. I'm going a little left field here, and instead of doing one of my usual disappeared episodes, I am telling you about a really shitty person that committed a number of crimes and then vanished without a trace.
Okay, interesting. Disappeared. I get it.
But that said, Sierra, do you have a fun fact for me?
I do have a fun fact. I'll be honest, it's hard to verify this fact. Some websites said it was a fact. Others said probably not, but maybe. Either way, it's fun.
Okay.
So, according to some websites, but not all, before alarm clocks existed, people used nails fixed into candles to make sure they would wake up on time.
I'm so sorry. What?
They knew how to calculate the burning time, like the time it took for the candle to burn, and they would put a nail, like hammer and nail, in the side of the candle, and when it melted to that point, the nail would fall out onto the hard table and make a clanking noise to wake them up, like in this picture here.
That is amazing.
But even better than that, I found this meme about it that says normal people using candle clocks and me using candle clocks, because I have about 18 alarms.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I sleep like I'm dead, as you know. So any small noise, like a nail hitting my table, is not going to be enough to wake me up.
Yeah.
I don't know how the 1800s worked, but I'm for sure going to be late for work that day. That's a super cool fun fact, though.
And now my dogs are barking.
Yeah. Or Frank.
I think my husband is home. It's always Stanley. It's always fucking Stanley.
Is he a nuisance, that one?
He is a nuisance. Frank is aloof. Stanley will yip yap all day long and then hide under my feet if anything comes near him.
He's all bark, no bite.
Literally. And Frank is just literally aloof. He loves everyone, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're going to murder him. Yeah. He's just wagging his tail, all excited.
Friendly reminder to keep him away from murderers. Again, if you're new here, Sierra rescued Frank, 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
How long have you lived in Alabama?
2 years. My
fun fact is not nearly as cute, or as fun, really. I feel like that's a trend. Your fun facts are always better. But my fun fact is about the longest between days twin childbirth.
Wait, what?
So,
how can it
twin.
Be between days?
Oh, it's gonna horrify you. Are you ready? So Molly and Benjamin West are fraternal twins who were born in Baltimore, Maryland on June 1st and March 30th, 1996. Molly was 3 months premature, but the doctors were able to hold off Benjamin's birth for 90 days.
They left
one twin in there.
In.
Because the twin was born 3 months premature. So I guess they managed to stop the birthing process after one came out. I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I'm not a doctor, but I just don't get it.
I don't either. This is
Are
from
there two placentas when there's fraternal twins?
correct. There are 2 eggs, 2 amniotic sacs, and 2 placentas. So if it
Okay,
had
so
been
that's why.
identical twins, this
Yeah.
would not have been possible. But because they
It
were
makes a little
fraternal,
more sense, I guess, but weird.
they just wanted to give him a little more time in the oven. But 1996, like that, they're like 27. That's a cool story to be like, yeah, this is my twin brother. He was born 3 months later.
Yeah.
Wild. I thought that was crazy.
That is so crazy.
Sierra's
Okay,
like,
so
I'm not okay with this.
like people, it's crazy for me to talk about me and how me and my sister are 11 months apart, right? Because it's less than a year, and it's people are like, oh my God, that's so soon.
Mimi got
Imagine
pregnant
being
right
like,
away.
this is my actual sibling, same mother, same father. We're 3 months apart. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Fucking how? Here's the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, we needed a little more time in the oven. Things that make me drink a little bit is facts like that. I did full disclosure. Me and Sierra talked for a few minutes before we started recording, and I drank my glass of rosé already. So it is now sparkling water, but I was drinking a Florida wine. I was inspired by you because that is where you got your beloved Southern wine recently.
Uh-huh.
And this wine is from a winery in Florida called Schnelby Redlands Winery. And it is in, scroll to the bottom of the page, Homestead, Florida. And they have 2 different rosés that they're known for. They were both available in my liquor store. I'm glad I read the label because the one that initially caught my eye was the beach rosé with a flamingo on it. But that actually has notes of avocado in it, and I'm allergic to avocados. So I'm glad I read the notes on that one. That said, I ended up getting a wine called Kiss of Passion with like picture kissing kissing a piece of tissue paper after you put lipstick on, that kind of shape on the bottle. And it is light and smooth with a passion fruit bouquet with crisp, refreshing flavor and subtle notes that remind you of fresh strawberries and citrus. So it felt very summery.
Did I know you were allergic to avocado?
Yes.
Do you eat guacamole?
No. And it's
How?
deeply upsetting to me. I feel like this breaks. I've seen Sierra 3 times in person, guys, and I feel like it breaks her brain every time that I can't have guacamole.
It's so sad. It's so good.
I know. Trust me. When Kevin
so
makes fresh
sad.
guacamole, I'm like, you're an ass.
It's a new allergy though. Like you know what it tastes like.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah. So Sierra, next time you eat guacamole for me, make sure you savor it extra. But before we get into this week's episode, now that you've learned all about me, we are gonna hear a quick promo from our friend Kevin over at Where the Weird Ones Are. What did Jesse bring you?
It's a giant size Andes bar.
I don't know what an Andes bar is. Is it like chocolate mint?
You know, like they
Oh, it
give
looks
you
so
at
tasty.
Olive Garden.
Oh,
but a giant one.
That exists in the US?
I guess. I didn't know.
Stop it right now.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
I don't. That's why when he came in and was like, I got you chocolate, I was like, what did you do? Why? This is weird. This. I've never even seen this before. You know?
Did you have to rob an Olive Garden?
No.
I'm so jealous. That chocolate is good. So while Sierra eats her delicious chocolate bar, I'm insanely jealous. I'm going to tell you about this serial killer. I know we are just coming off of a serial killer episode, guys, but bear with me. It's an old-timey case.
A not caught serial killer, though.
A not caught, disappeared into thin air serial killer.
All right. All right.
She
We'll let it slide.
Is also unique in the sense that it is a female. Her name was Belle Gunness. Have you ever heard of her?
Yes, I have.
Have you covered her on basic murder babes and I'm just not aware?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yes.
In your readings. Okay.
Yes.
So I'd never heard of her, which I was surprised by. But like
What?
many serial killers, Belle Gunness dipped her toe in with insurance scams that would eventually escalate. For example, she and her husband, Mads Albert Sorensen, home and store burned down under mysterious circumstances, and they claimed the insurance money. But not long after that, Mads himself died under mysterious circumstances, and Belle claimed the insurance money for him. I think we see where I'm going with this. Thus began a string of deaths from which Belle profited, from potential lovers to infant children, which is truly heartbreaking. But let's get into what we know about this lady. Can we scroll, please? Belle Gunness was born Bryhild Paulstrater Strasseth on November 11th, 1859, in Selbu, Norway. She immigrated to the United States in 1881, apparently searching for wealth. And she married her first husband then, Mads Albert Sorensen, in Chicago, Illinois in 1884. We already know that things went downhill real fast in this marriage. Shortly after the wedding, the couple's candy store and home burned down, and they filed and collected insurance claims. To clarify, the store and the home were attached. It wasn't two separate buildings. But like I mentioned at the head of the story, Mads soon died of heart failure. In fact, he died the very next day. The two insurance policies overlapped at the agency that was processing it. If that's not a red flag, I don't fucking know what is.
Yeah. Like, be patient at least.
Right?
Jeez.
Take the man out for dinner before you kill him off. Jeez. According to the New York Post, Belle reported that he had, quote, come home with a headache and that she had given him quinine powder and made him dinner. When she returned to check on him, he was dead, end quote. His family did request an inquiry into his death, but it didn't come about because she had the final say, being his wife, and stated that it wasn't necessary. She said that the stress of their house and their business burning down just must have been too much for his heart. And for those wondering, quinine powder comes from quinine cinchoa bark extract, and it is a herbal supplement for boosting your immune system, and it is still sold and used today. What she used to cause the heart failure may never be known, though. My point being, it certainly wasn't the bark extract.
Yeah.
Belle used the money from Mads's insurance payout and the payment from her previous home to buy a farm in LaPorte, Indiana. Is it LaPorte or LaPorte?
I don't know. I've never heard of it. I would say LaPorte just because Indiana is not a Tay place.
Yeah, it's like Midwest.
Yeah.
LaPorte, Indiana. She soon married her second husband, a fellow widower named Peter Gunness. Thus, how her last name comes to be. Within a week of their marriage, tragically, Peter's 7-month-old infant daughter died. And just a few months later, Peter died in, quote, a freak accident after a sausage grinder fell from a high shelf and struck his head, end quote.
Ooh. I thought that was going to go differently, but still.
You were thinking she put him in the sausage grinder? Because that would have been some Kingsman 2 shit that I'm not ready for.
Yeah.
What a way to go, though. The coroner was suspicious enough to want to investigate his death, given the death of her previous husband. And, like, how does something that heavy and large just fall from a shelf?
Well,
But
why would you put something that heavy and large up on a shelf?
that's a true
You
story as
know,
well. That seems like a hazard in
what
and
are
of
you
itself.
doing?
Yeah. How the fuck are you going to get that down? How are you going to make your sausage? How are you going to accidentally kill your husband? But unfortunately, the limits of the medical industry at the time and how brutalized he was given the object that fell on him, it's unclear how the accident happened and if that was what really killed him. Widowed yet again, and obviously feeling quite lonely, needing more money. In 1905, Belle Gunness began placing personal ads in the paper, true Lonely Hearts fashion.
Oh gosh.
One read, personal, homely widow who owns a large farm in one of the finest districts in LaPorte County, Indiana, desires to make the acquaintance of a gentleman equally well provided with view of joining fortunes. No replies by letter will be considered unless the sender is willing to follow answer with a personal visit. Triflers need not apply. End quote.
Yes. That is my favorite Belle Gunness quote. That's how I know of her. Triflers need not apply. Yeah, I just to join our fortunes, you know? She's looking
Who
for a certain kind of
who
person.
puts that? Yeah. And she even said of equal fortune, like
Yeah.
poor bitches may not apply. She started receiving replies very quickly, averaging about 8 a day. The way that she chose her victims was simple. They were lonely, often Norwegian bachelors, many cut off from their families, so no one would be around to ask questions when they disappeared. And she would sweet talk them with promises of Norwegian home cooking and painted a very seductive picture of the life that they would have together. She exchanged letters with a man named Andrew Helgelian for a year and a half. What started as a possible business partnership turned romantic very quickly, with Belle sending letters with lines like, I place you higher in my affections than anyone in this world. Very 1900s. When Andrew arrived on her farm on January 3rd, 1908, they soon went to a local bank where he deposited his savings totaling $2,839, today's equivalent of about $75,000, into her account. And, the equivalent of a joint account was made.
Honestly, that's not even that much money today. So, like, come on, Belle, find somebody else. I thought you did want no scrubs.
It was the last time anyone saw Andrew alive again. Other men who answered Belle's personal ads and came to her farm with money included George Barry, who had $1,500 at the time, Christian Hilvecken, who had about $2,000 at the time, Emil Tell, who also had about $2,000 at the time, Ole Budsberg, who had about $1,000, and John Moe, who had about $1,000. And all of them disappeared after their interactions with Belle.
Hmm.
She ain't no Disney princess, that's for sure. While Belle Gunness was buttering up Andrew, she hired a man named Ray Lamphere in July of 1907 as a farmhand slash handyman. Unsurprisingly, because she was so charming, the two began a bit of a love affair. She never spoke of their relationship, though, because he was too poor. When Andrew arrived on the farm, Belle kicked Ray out of his room in the house and told him that he would now be sleeping in the barn, as Andrew didn't feel it was right for the help to be sleeping in the house. A few weeks later, the two would get into an argument over the living situation as well as their relationship, and so Belle made the decision to fire Ray. Ray did
So
not
what?
take it well.
He was like her sex slave?
Pretty much.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, there's an exchange of money, there's an exchange of bodily fluids. Kind of feels like it.
Yeah, he's the help though.
Yeah, to put it very 1900s-y.
Yeah.
Ray, like I said, didn't take it very well and reportedly began harassing Belle after this. She even went as far as to report it to the local sheriff via letter. She said that he had trespassed on her property and that he should be declared mentally insane. In early 1908, Andrew Helgelian's brother, Isle, he became worried after hearing nothing from his brother following his move to live with Belle and start their new lives together. He was quite taken by her, and much to her dismay, he talked about her quite often and her farm to his family. Even more damning, Isle actually found some of the letters between Andrew and Belle. He found in one of the letters that Andrew had received from her telling him, quote, "Take all of your money out of the bank and come to me as soon as possible," end quote. Having her address now, Isle wrote to Belle asking about his brother's whereabouts. She replied that his brother had left for Chicago and had sent her a letter telling her not to contact him, making Isle even more suspicious. On April 27th, 1909, Belle Gunness went to see her lawyer to draw up her will. She shared that Ray Lamphere's behavior was making her nervous and declared, quote, "I want to prepare for the eventuality. I'm afraid that fool is going to kill me and burn my house," end quote. Okay, a little on the nose prediction there, lady. The very next day, on April 28th, 1909, what would you know? The Gunness family farm in LaPorte, Indiana, burned to the ground. Police initially found the corpse of an adult woman and, tragically, 3 children. And authorities determined that this must have belonged to Belle and the 3 children that she had been fostering at the time. Like, who also let this lady have children? Like, just. Ray was initially arrested and charged with arson and murder. Case closed, right? Not quite. There were a few problems with the scene. First, the body of the adult woman was headless, not something that usually happens in a fire.
Well,
Second,
didn't she say he was going to cut her head off?
no, she didn't predict that part.
Oh, she just said killed.
Yeah, just said kill and
Okay.
burn the house down. Yeah. I'm no arson expert, but in my experience, that doesn't happen. Second, there were mutilated bodies of an undisclosed number of victims found around her property. Presumably the men who had gone missing after falling for her and merging their money with hers. And third, Ray told authorities that she was planning to flee all along after taking the money from these men. He didn't know where they went or what happened to them, but he knew that she was planning to fake her own death and move to avoid any further suspicion.
I mean, listen, we never, ever, ever condone killing of any kind. But at least for once, there is a smart serial killer, you know? Like, of course, it's a woman.
Circa the 1900s. Among the bodies found were Andrew Helgelian. He was positively identified by his brother, and Belle's foster daughter named Jenny Olson, who was identified through the orphanage. Belle had told everyone that she had left to go to school in California. Her age was not listed anywhere that I could find, but that's still incredibly heartbreaking when this child is put in your care. It is the trust that you're not going to kill her.
Yeah.
And the names of the children's bodies who had died in the fire were also unlisted. There was an estimated 11 bodies found on the farm after the after the excavation of the property. While Ray did not know her name, he claimed that the headless body of the woman in the fire must have belonged to the Chicago woman that Belle had been writing to with a promise of a job at the farm. Within weeks after her death, her murder spree had been the topic of newspapers across the nation. Naturally, as journalists do with serial killers, headlines featuring a number of nicknames, including, quote, the Indiana Ogress, Chef's Kiss, the Laporte Ghoul, the Mistress of the Castle of Death, and Hell's Princess.
Yeah.
The Indiana Ogress is my favorite.
Yeah. Listen, again, we don't condone murder, but you gotta admit, this is a smart one.
Yeah. She planned everything down to a T and then went,
including her
bye.
own death or faked death.
Yeah. Like, if she wasn't so terrible, I'd admire her a little bit.
Right. Exactly.
Her picture was posted in every paper in hopes of finding her and sent to police stations in all major cities. Of course, as this type of activity does, tips came flooding in of supposed sightings from Chicago, San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. But nothing ever came of the reports. And the last day that anyone ever saw Belle Gunness alive was April 27th, 1908, when she went to her lawyer's office to draw up her will. Now, here's my question. Do you think she had a life insurance policy on herself that she then collected after she died? Because that would be the ultimate.
But who, she would have to have someone.
Yeah, true.
Like,
true.
In cahoots with her to do that.
That is true. And nothing of that ever came about. But I'm just saying that would have been like the cherry on top of the fuck you, I'm out sandwich.
Yeah. Goodness gracious, that woman.
I also realized what I said did not make any sense.
I get it. I understand. Okay. I don't know if the listeners do.
Yeah, they're like, she's a weird lady.
Mm-hmm.
In 1931, a woman using the name Esther Carlson was awaiting trial in Los Angeles. She was accused of poisoning a man to collect his life insurance policy when she suddenly died while awaiting trial at the age of 72. It is the 1900s, making it to your 70s is a big deal. She shared an uncanny resemblance to Belle and was roughly the same age that she was supposed to be. The MO was also very consistent with Belle. There was no way to prove whether this Esther woman was Belle or not. Whether Belle really did disappear that day or reappear in 1931 in a different city with a different name is unknown, and we will probably never know for certain.
But I mean, like, probably.
That is this week's Disappeared episode. Like I said, a little different from my usual choice, but I'm a sucker for an old-timey mystery, and I came across this article about her on BuzzFeed, and I'd never heard of her at the time, so naturally I had to dive down that rabbit hole. It also reminded me of the episode that Sierra and I did on the Bloody Benders, because the mother and daughter who got away also had alleged sightings after that, and also died while awaiting trial for other crimes. So,
yep.
Clearly the ladies know how to do it.
So, they do. I can't believe you've never heard of that.
No, I've never heard of it. And I felt really bad because my initial intent was to pick something lighter, something old-timey after John Wayne Gacy. And then when I started reading about her farm being excavated and the bodies being pulled from it, I was like, oh no. Right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Here we go again.
But she's definitely an interesting lady and definitely brilliant in her own twisted way. So I think that she escaped and was doing the same thing in other cities for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But, it's the era before dental records, before DNA, before any of that. So we would never know. But that's what I think. Let us
Also,
know what you guys think.
the dead body's head was cut off, so you couldn't compare any dental records to that.
True story. True story. Yeah, that's super fucked up.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Also, I put out a call out on last week's episode as to whether or not you guys read the episode descriptions, and many of you said you just jump in blind. So hopefully this episode title and episode didn't disappoint. And yeah, Sierra, do you have anything happening in your life? Anything you're excited about, positive, to end us off before we roll on out of here?
Positive. I finished Funny Story and it was great.
I'm only halfway done. Don't tell me a thing.
It was a great book. I'm now currently reading 3 books at the same time.
I don't know how
So,
you do that. Every time I
I
look at your
know.
Goodreads, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
chaos.
Yeah. It's
Just
pretty
like
crazy.
33% on this book, 12% on
Yeah.
this book. But I admire your ability to set aside time to read and to devour the books at the rate that you do. That said, my large print version of Funny Story.
You loving it though?
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's so good.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with Emily Henry. I mean, she
I
just
fucking love
paints
her.
she paints characters that are so relatable to you and I. And then on top of it, it's like a really cute, like Gilmore Girls-esque love story. So I'm here for it.
Yep.
I'm here
It's
for
great.
it. But you were correct in what you said on Patreon in that it starts off real sad. So you did warn me.
Yes. Yes,
I was
very,
like,
very sad.
oh my God.
Yes.
If you guys want to hear more about what we're reading and the craziness that is also going on in our lives and recommendations and whatnot, you should check out our Patreon page. For our bitch and wine, we end each month with book talk. So not to be confused with book TikTok.
Yes, book talk. TALK. Not TOK.
I know. I'm like, any Gen Zers that are listening are like, I don't know what you mean. No, I'm joking. You guys are smart. But yeah, the day that we are recording this in true me fashion, I had a yoga class before this, and it is a full moon tonight. It is the flower moon. Everything is in full bloom, full beauty, full everything for the summer. And the routine that we did for yoga today, I really enjoy this teacher because she uses essential oils as part of her practice, which I think is really nice. But she did a moon salutations flow, which I have never done. And anyone that's done yoga knows that sun salutations are a very common thing in yoga practice and flow style. So I thought that was really interesting, and I had never done it before. And we also did like a letting go kind of full moon cleanse kind of thing at the beginning of the class, and it was really beautiful and it made me tear up a little bit. So I hold on to things, and so it was nice to just let go of some stuff. That's my positive.
That's
And
nice.
I love all of you guys so much. You are positive every week. Thank you for listening. If you like the show, friendly reminder to leave a 5-star rating and review, specifically on Apple Podcasts, but we love readings on Spotify as well. We are currently, as we are recording this, we have 69 5-star ratings on Spotify. Nice. So, as funny as that is, we'd like to get to 100 at least by the end of the year. So go and break that 69 and leave us a rating there too, if that's where you listen. And like I said, if you're craving more twisted content, you can check out our Patreon page. We are working on some fun revamps. That's all we'll say. And so trust us, you want to go and listen. We will also have a really fun bonus kind of third part to our John Wayne Gacy coverage with a really special interview that you might want to go and check out as well over there. So hint, hint, nudge, nudge, all the things. We will see you next week for Sierra's
I don't know yet. Episode.
And in the meantime, keep it
twisted.
Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alecia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.